Good morning, everyone. I hope you're well. Welcome to another Bitesize CPD. Thank you so much for joining. I'm leading today's session, and today we're going to be looking at ethical AI. Now, I'll talk a little bit about more what I mean in a moment, but let's just run through the session outcomes for this morning. So this morning, I would like us to be able to explain how the ethical use of AI can support learning without compromising assessment validity or academic integrity. Easy for me to say at 8:30 in the morning. Reflect on learner AI use to determine whether assessment evidence remains authentic and reliable, and for us to be able to apply consistent quality assured guidance when discussing acceptable AI use with learners, ensuring fairness across our programs of study. So it seems quite heavy, but I assure you it's not. I've tried to keep it as light as possible. This was actually a training we were meant to deliver in January as part of Essential CPD, so I have condensed it for this morning because I thought it was important. But if you wanted a fuller training on this, I'm absolutely happy to do so. So here's the beautiful TLA framework. And this morning, we are really going to focus on assessment and learning checks. Now, what I'm not going to say is anything that we speak about this morning is going to get you to expert practices. It's more looking at assessment through a quality assurance lens to make sure our processes are robust, to ensure that our assessment decisions are accurate, fair and valid. So just so you know, to give you some kind of context, but still everything all ties into the framework. Okie doke. So why are we doing this morning? Well, our pledge to you as a TLA team is to give you some short 15-minute training. We promise to keep to time, that it is of high quality and to give you something to take away, or potentially you want to go to the coffee shop afterwards. I don't know, you choose, it's up to you. Okay, so the key themes of this morning are validity, transparency and consistency. All things we want to see in our assessment processes. So before we start, just so you know, we all know that learners are using AI to do their assessments. They just are. And why wouldn't they? So this session isn't about trying to catch learners out and, calling them out for using AI. It's a tool that is there for them to use. It's not going to go away. And actually, if used in the correct way, it can be a really useful tool for them to use. So by no means am I trying to, call anyone out for using AI in their assignments. As teachers, we use AI, don't we, to support us with our teaching. So it's only fair that learners can use AI to support with their assignments too. But what the focus really is to ensure that as a college and within your separate departments, that assessment is valid, assessment decisions are defensible, and that learners understand the importance of using AI responsibly or honestly. Okay, so we're going to give you a scenario. I'm sure we've all seen it. If we're teaching and learners are writing assignments, we've definitely experienced this. So a learner has written their assignment independently, and they are saying, and we're going to believe them at this point, that they use AI to improve academic tone and clarity throughout, which is something you think that comes up a lot. Oh, I did use AI, but I only used it to check my spelling or, to improve my grammar. It's like, okay, fair enough. The work is meeting criteria, which is great, but there is no disclosure from the learner included that they have used AI to support the assignment. So let's just think on that for a second. What are we going to do? So before we make a judgment on the assignment, we're going to consider some things. I'm going to say the following. So the assessment evidence may not be invalid if the ideas and the analysis are the learner's own. So if it's come from the learner, it's their ideas, but maybe they've just changed one or two words, it's not an invalid assessment. The issue could be transparency, not authenticity. So what I mean by that is, it's that the learner just simply hasn't stated what AI tool they've used, how they've used it, and where they've used it. So it absolutely could be the learner's own work, but they're just not being transparent. You might want to review any draft submissions. I think even more now, we should maybe be using draft submissions with our learners to see if the work kind of is similar or aligns, and think about any discussions you might have had with learners in class and sort of measure the current assignment against previous ones and see if there's any disparity. It's not rocket science, you can see the difference. Did the learners know they needed to disclose the use of AI when submitting assignments? So were you explicit? Was it on the assignment brief? Did you mention it? So those were things to consider before we make a snap judgment on the learner. This is how I think these are some of the questions that I think you might want to ask yourself before making your assessment decision. So thinking about validity. So thinking about, does the work still show the learner's own thinking? So do the ideas behind the work align with previous submissions? It's really clear to see. There might be a kind of shift in tone or use of language. Can the learner explain and justify their points in professional discussion? So it's a really good idea to sit the learner down and maybe just ask them some points around their assignment. What did you mean by this? Could you talk to me about this source that you used? Can you explain this theory in a bit more detail? And normally that can highlight understanding, genuine understanding, or if a learner just kind of goes blank, then you probably know that the work might not be their own. Then you want to think about, for you yourself as an assessor, could you justify your assessment decision if challenged in the IQA or EQA process? So that's internal or external quality assurance process. So we are all accountable for our assessment decisions, and we have to justify the decisions that we've made. So do you have evidence of previous work or draft copies of the current assignment? So you can show either your IQA or EQA the change and the shift in the work if you think AI has been used dishonestly. Or do you have a record of a professional discussion that you had with the learner or a tutorial? So it's always good to record them. And by that, I mean just maybe writing a few notes and keeping that somewhere safe, just so you kind of backed yourself up there. You've got clear, transparent evidence. Was the learner clear on expectations? So as I've said before, did the assignment brief explicitly state whether AI editing should be disclosed? We should all really now be putting statements on our assignment briefs about that, just to make sure it's absolutely clear. And have learners been given guidance on how to do this correctly? So have you taken time to work with your learners to make sure that they know how to use AI in the correct way? And just as a little reminder, ethical AI issues are often about assessment process, not just evidence. So before we make that snap judgment, think about what we have done prior to this point in order to prepare learners for their assignments. Okay, so I'm sure you probably know this, but just what else are you going to look out for? So you know when you're looking at something that might be AI, your spider senses start tingling a little bit and you think, something's not right here. So what are we looking out for? So thinking about writing style, so there might be a change in tone, as I've said, use of vocabulary or sentence structure. I always know because I see the word nuance and the word cornerstone in every AI assessment I've ever read, which always makes me smile. Use of overly formal language or academic language, so learners think they stop writing in plain English and in a way that reflects how they would normally speak, and they start using language that nobody would use, quite frankly. There's lack of spelling or grammatical errors. Sometimes, yes, we need to correct the grammatical errors, but actually, if there are certain discrepancies in the work and mistakes, that shows that the work is their own. And there's this idea of like robotic phrasing. References is a fun one. So often when you get an AI piece of work, there's a massive list of citations and references, and quite often they either don't exist, the sources are very outdated, or they can't be found. So especially if there's a web-based one, I suggest you click on it and it'll take you somewhere quite fantastical, which is not related to your assignment whatsoever. In terms of the content, I guess this is pretty straightforward, but it can be vague and generic and like personal insight, especially if learners doing a reflective piece, so they're having to reflect on a project they might have done with you. You won't get a sense of the learner in that reflection. They'll give you very kind of generic statements that aren't connected in any way to your subject area or their understanding. It's like reading an encyclopedia, as I've said, nuance, cornerstone, they're always going to be there. And then maybe a slight repetition of ideas without any evaluation or analysis of key points. So I know you probably know that, but I think it's good to recap, but just keep these in your mind when you're looking at something. It's normally quite clear to see. Obviously, layout there's often like words highlighted in bold and lots of bullet point lists as well in an AI piece of work. Just things for you to think about. So now we're going to have a reflect on our own practice for a second. So things to think about, and these things you can maybe reflect on as an individual, but also these are things you can take potentially into your next team meeting to think about. If they're things you think, oh, actually, maybe we don't do that as a department, or we don't have, we're not sending out, consistent messaging as a team, maybe just make a few notes and take them to your next team meeting to have a discussion. So thinking about, was the issue of AI use to support composition of assignments addressed at induction? So I've now made a point of doing this in my introduction session to learners to make it really clear what the expectations are on what I do and don't expect. And as anything with attitudes and behaviours, set expectations from the beginning. Be really, really clear about what it is you will allow and what you won't allow and what you expect from your learners. Have honest conversations around plagiarism. What is plagiarism? The use of AI dishonestly is absolutely plagiarism. There's no doubt about it, and the learners could get in a lot of trouble for doing it and not disclosing it. And then you've got to provide them the correct guidance on honest use of AI. It's absolutely our responsibility to do that, because especially learners coming from school, they might not have had this guidance, this support. Some of them writing essays is something they're doing for the very first time, so it's really important to give them that secure guidance. Also want to think about assignment briefs. Do they state or have they got a statement around the ethical use of AI? So has clear guidance been given? Are learners clear on the consequences of using AI dishonestly? And are all teaching staff, as I've said before, in the department using the same consistent message around the use of AI to complete assignments? So again, if you're not sure, take it to a team meeting and have those discussions. Just a bit of further guidance for you. Don't take everything I've said today as gospel. It's probably not. So we have a fantastic AI policy. Alison Bartrip wrote this. It's really good. It's a fantastic resource. I've got the link here in my slides, but I will send them out to you after this. But what it's great at doing is it shows you how to reference and cite AI correctly. So if you're not sure, have a look at this and then you can teach your learners how to do it. So I definitely recommend looking at that. I've also got links here from JCQ and awarding bodies around their position on use of AI. And they're all kind of just saying the same thing, honestly. Again, I'll send these links out to you about having just a really robust and transparent assessment process and standardization process and guidance for learners. But I will send those out to you. I can't go through it all because I don't have the time. And that's it from me. I hope you've enjoyed it. Obviously, the TLA team are here to help you as ever. So yeah, please do get in touch with us. Here's our contact details here. Please do pop up to T222. It's super quiet, always welcome for company, or just drop us an email. And yeah, that's fantastic. I will just pop back in. I can't see the screen at all at the moment, so I'll just see if there's any convo happening in the chat. Yes, so Irina, would be useful to share the AI policies with learners. Yeah, absolutely, I do, in terms of my learners. I guess it's slightly different because they're teacher trainers, but yeah, I share the policy with them. But you could just pull out the most relevant parts, but absolutely you can do. I don't know, someone anonymous, that's quite exciting. It's a great starting point. Certainly give me food for thought, thank you. Oh, it's Sylvia, it's not someone anonymous, it's you, Sylvia. And then Annie Woods is saying, great shout out to Annie. Gemini on Google is very good at identifying AI in learners' work. I didn't know that, so that is fantastic. Thank you so much, everyone. I hope you have an amazing day. Thank you for joining, and we'll see you next week. Take care. Bye-bye.